small Texas town, 2 days after Christmas, a 13-year-old girl left home and never returned. No one saw her leave. No one saw where she went. Her mother thought she was spending the night with a friend. However, that friend said otherwise. For years, there were no answers, only rumors, suspicion, and a growing sense that something was very wrong. When her remains were finally found, miles away in a desolate field, the truth didn't get clearer. It got stranger. This is the story of Hailey Dunn, a missing child, a fractured investigation, and a case that still haunts everyone it touched. December 27th, 2010, Colorado City, Texas. 13-year-old Hailey Dunn is said to have left her home that afternoon to visit a friend. However, she never arrived. No one saw her walking, no one saw her enter another house. In a town of just 4,000 people, she vanished without a trace. Her mother, Billie Jean Dunn, and her mother's boyfriend, Sean Atkins, told police she was going to stay the night at a friend's place. That friend's family said otherwise. They hadn't heard from Hailey. They weren't even expecting her. What began as a teenage missing person case quickly turned into something else. A story of inconsistencies, suspicion, and unanswered questions that would haunt this small Texas community for over a decade. Hailey was quiet, a cheerleader, the kind of kid teachers remembered as polite. She lived with her mother and Atkins. Her father, Clint Dunn, lived nearby and saw her often. There were no signs of trouble, no police reports, no reason, at first glance, for anything to go wrong. But from the beginning, something about the story didn't sit right. Sean Atkins claimed he saw Hailey leave the house at 3 p.m. He said she was walking to her friend's house just 6 blocks away, but no one saw her along the route. No neighbor, no friend, no passing car. She had supposedly planned to stay the night, but she didn't bring clothes or a phone charger. And when police asked Atkins where he'd been that day, his story started to fall apart. He told investigators he went to work at a nearby plant, but security footage showed he left just after 35 minutes. He said he drove to his mother's house in Big Spring, 40 miles away. Cell phone records placed him in Snyder, the opposite direction. Later, Atkins told investigators he had returned home and spent the afternoon playing video games and browsing the internet. But when police examined Billie Jean's internet history, it showed she had been online that entire afternoon, not Atkins. His story didn't hold, not unless she was lying for him. At the time, investigators said Atkins was uncooperative, evasive, and within a few days, he was named the only person of interest in Hailey's disappearance. What they found next didn't help. Atkins allowed police to search his computer. On it, they found disturbing images, violent, sexually graphic material, some of it themed around torture and murder. One file was titled, 18 Ways to Kill a Little Girl. When confronted, Atkins downplayed the content, said it was old, said he didn't know how it got there. Billie Jean defended him, claimed it was harmless, that people just didn't understand him. Both took polygraph tests and both failed. The investigation stalled. There was no confession, no eyewitnesses, and most importantly, no body. But suspicion only grew, especially when Billie Jean was arrested for lying to police about Atkins' whereabouts. When asked if he was staying at her house, she said no. Police later found out that he was, and even then, she wouldn't admit it. Public interest exploded. Nancy Grace covered the case on her show, Crime Stories. Flyers were put up, searches were organized, but the deeper people looked, the darker things appeared. Sean Atkins had previously threatened to kill members of Billie Jean's family. He'd been violent in the past. He told coworkers he fantasized about killing and getting away with it. Still, there was no proof, and time kept passing. Hailey's father, Clint Dunn, became the voice of the case. He pushed for answers. He worked with private investigators. He refused to let the story die. In every interview, he said the same thing. He believed Atkins was involved. It wasn't until March of 2013, over 2 years after Hailey disappeared, that a discovery changed everything. Near Lake J.B. Thomas, roughly 20 miles from Colorado City, a volunteer searcher found human remains in a dry, remote field. DNA confirmed what many had feared. The remains belonged to Hailey Dunn. According to forensic experts, her skull showed signs of blunt force trauma, injuries inflicted at or near the time of death, injuries that would have caused significant bleeding and eventually death. Police, however, never tested the Dunn's house for blood, not in the hours after she went missing, not in the days or weeks that followed. The scene had long been compromised. What evidence once existed was now gone. A soil analysis conducted using a method called near-infrared spectroscopy found that dirt collected from Adkins' work boots had a 94 to 95% chemical match with the soil from the site where Hailey's remains were found. But when those same samples were sent to the FBI for further testing, they used a more widely accepted forensic technique, which found no conclusive match. The FBI also stated that the original method, NIRS, was not a validated tool for forensic soil comparison. In short, the evidence was compelling, but not court-proof. In 2020, the case got new attention. The Texas Rangers' Unsolved Crimes Investigation Program reopened the file. They interviewed new witnesses, re-examined cell tower data, and they even issued a warrant for Adkins' DNA. In June 2021, Adkins was arrested and charged with murder. Prosecutors believed he'd killed Hailey and tampered with her corpse. But more delays followed. The trial, originally set for 2022, was pushed to 2023, then delayed again. Finally, prosecutors offered Adkins a plea deal, 30 years in prison, but Adkins refused. In May of 2023, the case was dismissed altogether. The reason? Lack of evidence. The motion to dismiss cited the lack of eyewitnesses, the absence of direct forensic proof, and the weak timeline. Adkins was only alone with Hailey for roughly 2 hours. In that time, he would have needed to kill her, clean up, and hide the body. Possible, but hard to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. For Clint Dunn, it was another blow, one of many. He claims the investigation was mishandled from the beginning. Files missing, reports disorganized, evidence that was never tested. Now, years later, there is still no trial, no verdict, just questions. What exactly happened inside the house on December 27, 2010? And how did a 13-year-old girl disappear, her body found years later, without a single conviction? Hailey would be 27 years old today. She loved Guitar Hero, she played pranks, she made her friends laugh. And her name still sits at the center of one of Texas's most haunting unsolved crimes. And the man, long believed to be responsible for her death, walks free.